Well, hello everybody. On behalf of Maverick Trading, we'd like to welcome you to our recruitment video. We're going to spend some time here talking about Maverick Trading, talking about what we do, how we do it, and how you can be a part of this. My name is John Froelich, and I'm joined here by, we'll call him our head trader, but really he wears many hats, Rob Reinhold. And we're going to walk you through this process and talk a little bit about how we trade, what we're looking for, make sure that, that we're going to be a good fit for you and you're going to be a good fit for us. So let's go ahead and get into a couple of things here. All right, first of all, let's just talk about our mission statement. At Maverick, we create and maintain professional traders. That is our entire reason for doing this. We're looking for people to come in, trade with our capital, become successful, become profitable, and we look to take them as far as they can go. We want people to be as good at traders as they can possibly be. We provide all the support, all the training, capital, anything that you're going to need to be successful. That's where we come in. So a big part of the success is with a proprietary trading firm is that we want people to jump in and trade the way that they're going to trade, but with the support and guidance that is necessary, because trading is very difficult to do as a solo effort. If you take a look at any of it, and probably some of you are following this boat, retail traders generally fail. People who sit at home on their computers and click buttons and try to make money in the markets generally fail. By the vast majority of people fail. And there's a reason for that. We're going to talk about that today. All right. First of all, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. I'm going to actually let Rob jump in here and talk a little bit about himself, and then you'll notice the difference in our personalities between the pictures. Rob looks like he just came out of a very important meeting, and I look like I used my profile picture from Tinder. So it's obviously two very different approaches just based on our pictures there. But Rob, why don't you go ahead and jump in here?
Thank you, John. And just so you know, I would swipe left on you. I'm sorry to let you know that. All right. Hey, my name is Rob Reinhold. I've been trading since 1997. I was one of the very first traders at Maverick Trading back in the day. I started off as an equities trader like most people do, and I got into options around 2000, 1999, 2000, and got into currencies later. And now I basically trade everything and anything. And I always tell people, look, trading is trading. It doesn't matter what the symbol is. It doesn't matter if the symbol is gold, it's Apple, it's a currency. It doesn't matter. Everything in the end comes down to it's a price. And everything goes up when there's more buyers and sellers, and everything goes down when there's more sellers and buyers. So it's been a very interesting career to have over the last 20 years. But John said he wanted me to talk about myself. Let me talk about Mr. Froelich here. We decided it would be a little bit fun to share each other's hobbies, so I'll let John introduce himself a little bit, but I'm going to let you know John's hobbies. John likes to work out mostly with his shake weights. If any of you don't know what a shake weight is, go ahead and get on. You actually don't do that. If you don't know what a shake weight is, and you've obviously been missing the boat. Actually, John has given many people over the years shake weights for every birthday and Christmas present. I think I have a few from John. Thank you very much. He also likes taking selfies while driving, obviously. Ironically, this is the picture that was taken right before he went into the front of a house. So, anyway, nice to meet you, and I'm sure we'll get to know each other more later.
I'm glad I let Rob go first on that. I wanted to see how harsh he was going to be in introducing my hobbies. But a little about me. I started trading in 2002, kind of in the same manner that Rob did. I first started off as a day trader, trading just equities. This was right in the decline, of course, of the internet bubble, and the market was, making its way downward. And it very quickly became apparent to us that we could do better once we got into understanding how options worked. So that was definitely sort of the evolution of this. As Rob said, trading is trading, but one thing that we found is that in just trading equities, first of all, you have to spend a lot of money on stock, whereas when you trade with options, you get to do a lot of things with just a portion of the capital. So you can use a lot less money to leverage yourself, but you can also protect yourself much better. Rather than just using a stop loss like you would use in trading stock, you get to go in and decide exactly how much insurance you want, exactly how bullish or bearish you want to be. And so we found out that there was a much, much better way to trade once we did this. So again, the whole process of trading is always going to be an evolution, right? You become a seasoned trader by trial and error, by taking losses, by gaining more knowledge, by understanding things and having experiences. So that's where we've gotten to this point. So fast forward, over a decade later, and we've really found a fantastic way to develop a methodology that works consistently to make profits in the market. As far as talking about Rob's, we're going to get into Rob's hobbies now. I wasn't sure what he was going to say about me, but I'll tell you, the one thing that's nice about having Rob as our head trader is he's a very, very balanced person. For instance, just this year he got into drift racing, right? He and his son bought a drift racing car, and they've been testing themselves out with that, which is, for those of you who don't know what drift racing is, it's basically reckless driving but legal. And then on the balance of that, though, he loves going to petting zoos. I mean, ever since I can remember, he comes into every Monday talking about how great this petting zoo was that he went to over the weekend.
Hey, John, let me clarify. I only go to heavy petting zoos.
That's a much, much different thing. I misunderstood that. I apologize. Maybe he's not so balanced. All right. But yeah, that's us in a nutshell. But let's get into talking about the firm.
All right, well, let's get into talking about the firm. We have some very, very strong beliefs as far as trading goes. The number one thing at Maverick Trading is its risk management first. Risk management. When everyone starts out in trading, you always start out thinking, oh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to make all this money and I'm going to make all these great trades. Once you're a seasoned trader, it's all about not taking big losses. It's about protecting capital. It's about capital allocation. It's about risk management. We preach that at Maverick Trading. That's the very, very first thing we make sure that all of our traders understand. We also believe that options trading gives you the best way to control and manage risk. As we talked about, we are very serious about risk management. The great thing about options is that they clearly define and limit risk. As John said earlier, he talked about using a stop loss. I think a stop loss is pretty much garbage. And I can't tell you how many people I've talked with over the years that have struggled with trading, and they always say, oh, are you using a stop loss? And they say, yeah, of course. I say, and let me guess what happens. You get in, there's 1 or 2 days of volatility in the market, you get knocked out at a loss, and the trade would have done exactly what you thought it did, correct? And they look at me and their mouth drops open and said, yeah, that's exactly what's happening to me. Well, guess what? That's what happens when you use a stop loss. Using options gives you a way to limit and define risk and to sit through volatility. And it's very simple. I mean, if you were an amateur trader, you buy a stock at 50. Let's say you buy 1,000 shares at 50, and you put in a stop at 49. And that's an order that sells you automatically when it gets to 49. If you get stopped out, that's a $1,000 loss. But guess what? The stock could bounce back up. The stock could go up to 55, 57. I always say that that is the worst trade in the world. The worst trade in the world to me is when you lose money when you're right. That's the worst trade. If you were to buy an option, I'm going to use a very simple explanation, but if you were instead to buy the $50 call, that gives you the right to buy it at 50. And let's say that costs you $1 per share or $1,000. You could let that stock go all the way down to 47, 46, 40. You don't care. You've quantified your risk. However, you've now given yourself the ability to sit through volatility and to possibly make some money on the trade. Again, that's a very simple definition of an option. Definitely more to that. But it's one of the ways as traders that you can really quantify, hey, what kind of risk am I willing to take? How much am I willing to take? We also believe that trading is a game of probabilities. It's not about your gut. It's not about what Kramer said on TV. This is a game of probabilities. We know that if we make a certain trade 100 times, we have no idea what's going to happen the next time. But what we do know is we know that if we have the odds in our favor, we will be profitable in the end. And in the end, trading is all about cutting your losers and letting your winners run. Controlling the risk, and when you get it right, letting them run. So that's really the methodology. Of course, there's so much more that goes into this. Trading is an entire career, but I wanted to let everyone know exactly what we believe at Maverick Trading. And last but not least, consistency. If there's anything we see from traders that have a hard time in this business, it's following the rules and staying consistent.
Let me just jump in here really quickly, because this is the topic that I probably talk to traders about the most. Every time I get on the phone with somebody, if they're talking about struggles, it always comes down to consistency, because anybody can win a trade. It doesn't take you don't have to learn a single thing. You just click a button and you could either be right or wrong. A lot of times it's just a flip of a coin. So anybody can win a trade, but the difference between somebody who makes it and somebody who makes it long term is all about this consistency. And I've always said to somebody, if you can make $5 a week, but you can do it every single week, that means you can make $5,000 a week. It's the exact same thing, because once you have that consistency, now it's all about just position sizing. How big are you trading, right? That's the entire key. So we always talk about consistency being the golden fleece in trading. Once you've found it, you are set. And then you just have to maintain it. You have to keep that consistency. You have to make sure you adapt with the market. You have to make sure you're staying disciplined. But that consistency, not only is it so important to find, but it will make you better in so many other ways too in terms of your trading. It will make you more confident. It will make you more comfortable. It will keep you from impulsive trading. It will keep the psychological aspect of trading will become so much easier to deal with when you know that you have that consistency. It's like a blanket that goes over you that just keeps you comfortable and happy and successful. So keep that in mind. That's what we teach here, and that's what we try to get into our traders is helping them with finding that consistency.
So being a trader it's a very interesting profession. As I said, I started this close to 20 years ago, this profession out. And it's definitely been different than I perceived. I perceived it as being this high energy, stress, and that's how it was at first. Until I developed the skills to where all of a sudden it became very methodical and really quite boring. Alright, at Maverick Trading, we are looking for a specific person to trade for the firm. Number one, we're looking for someone who's committed. One of the greatest things about what we've been able to put together here at Maverick is that our traders are the best in the world. They're committed, they're disciplined, and they're driven. When you put together a team like that, it is amazing. Also, teachable. I recently did an interview on a podcast called A Trader's Story. And the interviewer asked me, what is the one skill or the one attribute you need to have as a trader? And I said, to be humble. And that kind of surprised him, because he knows a lot of traders, a lot of big-time successful traders, and sometimes they're not the most humble bunch. But basically I said, look, you've got to be humble. The market is bigger than you. It's bigger than all of us. You have to know that the market can squash you at any time. You have to know that. You have to be humble. You have to be teachable. You have to trainable. You must be able to learn from your mistakes. That's a huge part of this whole business, is that we all make mistakes. Guess what? If you make one mistake, that's a mistake. If you make two mistakes, that's a pattern. You've got to be teachable. You've got to be trainable. All of our traders are very collegial. What we say by that is that every single week we meet at least 2 or 3 times a week as a group online, where we discuss the markets, we discuss trades, we share trading ideas and trading strategies with everyone else. And during the year, we always meet at least once or twice a year live, either in Las Vegas, New York, or Chicago, for one of our trading summits where we actually get together face to face and meet together. And I think this is so important, because trading all by yourself is really, really difficult. In one of the Traders Expos that travels around the country, I was a guest speaker there, and I actually did an entire guest speaking engagement on how difficult it is to be a solitary trader. To be in a group setting with people watching over you, it's so important. And one of the last things we always look for is for traders that are willing to give back. And what we mean by that is that you're going to go down a path to where you're going to learn lessons, you're going to make mistakes, but you're going to learn it. We expect you to give that back to the next person coming through at Maverick. So all of our instructors were former Maverick traders. All of our coaches, all of our mentors, everyone on our team, they've been through the system. They've been through the process. Now, I always say that the best and worst thing about Maverick trading is that we're all traders. Now, what that means is the best thing about it is that you can call and talk to any of us, and we're a trader. Which also means that we're all traders, which means sometimes we're not very good at all things. Sometimes we get caught up in the markets.
One thing that Rob just said, it's kind of funny when we were talking about it, and the reason that we became traders is the reason that a lot of people become traders, which is that we wanted to quit our jobs and fire our bosses, be flexible and be able to live the lifestyles that we wanted. And so when we got back into running this firm, it was really kind of a funny thing that we, after finding the freedom that we were looking for, we decided to get back in and give ourselves full-time jobs. But one thing I wanted to also talk about, Rob had mentioned talking about being humble and being adaptable. The one thing I mentioned earlier about trading being an evolution, especially it's always easy to look back. And as I look back, the way that I used to trade, say 5 years ago or 10 years ago, is so much different than the way I look at things now. And so learning how to trade and learning how to be successful in this is not a stopping point. I always use the analogy of golf. You always have to keep working at it. It's not something you ever perfect. You have to keep changing with it, because if you don't, you're going to get stuck. So people who were trading back in the 1980s, they might have been great in the 80s, but if they tried to do the same stuff today, first of all, they wouldn't be able to, but even if they tried, it would be a miserable failure. So that's one of the huge parts. The other thing that I wanted to kind of touch on was the collegial part of this. In getting feedback from our traders, we've taken surveys and we've talked to our traders quite a bit, and the number one reason that people love being part of Maverick is for that exact thing. The idea that you can share ideas freely, that it's a transfer of information where it's not just you versus the market. There's this huge ocean of knowledge and a huge ocean of information out there, and the fact that you've got other people, instead of just your one set of eyes looking at it, you've got other people that you can bounce ideas off of, that you can take ideas from and share ideas, and it really does become more of a community rather than just a bunch of solo traders trying their best behind their computers. And that is a huge aspect of success. In my mind, that's what did it for me. If I had to try and do this all by myself, if I think back, I would have never made it by myself. But the fact that I got hooked up with good people that had been successful prior to me, that were able to help me and basically reach down and help me take a step up, that was a huge part of it. That's a huge part of success in anything, but it definitely applies here in trading as well.
All right, well, let's first go over the reasons that we've learned throughout the years that people just have a hard time with trading. The number one thing that we've noticed is a lack of a plan. Now, I don't know why this has happened, and it's crazy to think that people understand that to get into any profession, it takes time, it takes money, and it takes resources and a lot of work. To become a doctor, everyone knows the plan. You got to go through 4 years of undergrad, then you've got to go to med school, then you got to do residency. You're racking up hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they don't even let you touch a patient for like 8 or 9 years. If you want to be a lawyer, it's the same process. 4 years of undergrad, go through the bar. Everyone understands that to go through any profession, you've got to go through this path. I mean, even as something like to cut hair. To be able to cut someone's hair, you can't just cut someone's hair. You've got to go through school, you've got to go through training, you've got to pass tests. For some reason, and it's probably thanks to TV, is that people think that this is different. That you can get into the market as a trader, all you need to have is a computer and some money. Click some buttons and make your fortune. Guess what? That doesn't work. This is a business. This is a profession. At Maverick, we are only looking for people that are going to treat it like a profession. If this is going to be a little hobby of yours, you know what? You're going to be better off somewhere else. So people get into this business without a really defined trading plan. What are you going to do when the market gaps up 200 points in the morning? What are you going to do if it goes sideways for a month? They have no plan. They've read some books, they've got on some websites, they even have some services that are going to give them trade alerts. That's no plan. That's the biggest reason why traders fail, is a lack of a plan. Next was the lack of discipline. I'm going to give you a little personal story. I started trading actually back in 1995. It was really when I got the bug to trade. However, I don't consider myself to be a professional trader until about 1997. Now, I actually started off with a total of $40,000 of capital, and I started off at Charles Schwab. Now, Charles Schwab was one of the very first companies to the online trading world. And I put in my $40,000, and I don't like to brag, everybody, but 6 weeks later, I turned that $40,000 into $20,000. I know. Hold your applause. I learned very quickly that I was going to screw this up, and that I did screw it up. And it really came down to lack of discipline. I did things that I knew I shouldn't do. That's one of the hardest things to get down in trading. Next is lack of capital. This is one of the biggest obstacles, because trading, we tell our traders at Maverick, don't trade for money, trade for percent.
I wish so badly under that picture, instead of writing lack of capital, if you would have typed lack of pockets. That would have been a much better caption for that. You know, if you're going to be a good trader, you got to have pockets. Just look at this guy.
I actually know that you don't even need pants. You don't even need pants to be a good trader. It helps though. We tell our traders to trade for percentage, not money. And what we mean by that is, if you trade for money, it becomes very hard, because all of a sudden it becomes emotional. If you trade for percentage, all of a sudden it's all about your system. If you can trade for percentage, as John said, if you can make $5, $10, $100, $500, if you can make a positive percent every single week, every single month, then it's just a matter of capital at that point. And that's the problem, is that many people don't have enough capital to really make this worth their while. Let's say you're trading with $5,000, and let's say that you can make a 50% return for the year. Now that's pretty darn good return. 50% for the year, that's $2,500, and you had to do all that work for the year. That's not worth it. So what do people do? They take on higher risk strategies. They take on higher leverage, and of course, they lose. Being a professional trader really is about having adequate amounts of capital. We want to control risk, and by doing so, we might get lower percentage returns, but because of higher capital levels, it allows you to make a living at this. And the last one, lack of support. We've talked about how difficult it is to trade all by yourself in this business. So at Maverick, we've really put everything together. So, okay, these are the reasons people fail. Let's help our traders out. Trading plan is required. Now, this wasn't always the case. You know, Maverick's been around since 1997. But it wasn't until about 2009. And I remember that one of our traders that had been with us for about 2 years, and he had done well, but he was in a rough spot. And I'd noticed some erratic behavior, and I said, hey, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and take about a week off of trading, and what I want you to do is I want you to write out what you're going to do in every single situation. And he actually called me back a week later, and he said, you know what? I was going to do what I've always done in life, put some stuff down on paper, given it in, and got back to trading. He said, but you know what? When I got into this, I realized how valuable it is, and I'm going to need some more time. So it took him about 3 more weeks. And he came to me with this, basically a binder full of about 50 to 60 pages. And he said to me, Rob, this was by far the most valuable thing I've ever done as a trader. And he said, and I don't know why you didn't make me do this in the first place. And I thought to myself, yeah, why didn't we? So from that point on, trading plan was required. So you have that trader to thank for it. But we make every single person, before they're allowed to trade live capital, they must go in and develop a plan. Basically, a what-if scenario. If this happens, I'm going to do this. If this happens, I'm going to do this. Because when the market challenges you, and it will, you have that plan that you've already decided what you're going to do. Force discipline with risk management. As we talked about, one of the hardest things to do as a trader is to have the discipline. We have something here at Maverick we called force discipline or risk management. We have a team of risk managers that when they notice erratic behavior or excessive risk taking, they'll give you a call, they'll get in contact with you. Now, if you remember my story of starting back at Charles Schwab was my broker. I entrusted them with my money. I gave them $40,000. And you know what? Charles Schwab would have let me lose every single penny of that money. They would have let me run it down to zero. They could care less. At Maverick, we actually will step in. If you won't get out of the trade when you know you should, guess what? We'll get you out of it. Now, for people that have never traded before, when we tell them this, they always say, geez, what a bunch of jerks. Why don't they just let people trade? Anyone who's actually traded before, they love this because we've all been in that situation where you know you should get out and you just can't. You're like a deer caught in headlights. You need a team behind you to step in and get you out when you need to. All right, back with firm capital. Lack of capital, big reason. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. We put up capital for our traders to trade. And of course, we've talked about the support. Having traders around you, having people you can call and talk to, having risk managers that will call and let you know, hey, you're a little bit askew here. And basically even having management to say, hey, are you meeting your goals this month? What are you working for? That is so important in this business. Right, so let's talk about the capital sharing program. This is basically where we bring in an independent trader and we put them through our qualification program. Now we're going to talk about that next. Basically, our qualification program is a way for us to know that you're ready to trade with live capital. We have some people that come to us and say, hey, look, I know exactly what I'm doing already. I just need some capital to trade. And we always say, well, that's ridiculous. If you knew exactly what you were doing, you would already have plenty of capital to trade. Does everyone see the irony to that? We have people come to us all the time, say, I am a fantastic trader. I know exactly what I'm doing. I don't need to learn anything else, but I'm broke.
It's actually surprising how often we do hear that, and we've gotten used to it at this point. But at the very beginning, we always thought that was one of the funniest things. We just couldn't understand how somebody was totally broke and yet they knew everything about trading. The whole thing just didn't connect on any level. So, and of course, once you point that out to them, then they're kind of like, yeah, I guess that's a good point. I guess the idea with that is everybody needs something. You may know how to read charts. You may be really good at certain things, but clearly there's something missing from your plan. Otherwise, it would work. Because again, you didn't find your consistency. You lost all your money. You weren't disciplined. You didn't manage your risk properly. Whatever the case is, something was missing. And so that's where we need to find out. What's missing from your trading? What's keeping you from being successful? The reality is, and we've found this to be always true, is that the worst enemy of a trader is the trader. It's not the market. It's not that somebody came out with bad earnings. It's not China's economy. It's none of these things. It's the trader. Because what we always like to talk about is, we can't control everything in the market. You can control some things, but you can't control everything. So what we do is we control all of the things that we have the ability to. We can control how much risk we take. We can control how big our positions are. We can control when we get in and out of trades. What we can't control is what the S&P is going to do tomorrow, what's going to happen to the price of gold, what's going to happen to oil. We can't control any of these things. And so we don't try to. Instead, we try to protect against those things. So control the things that you can control and then protect yourself against the things that you can't. And that is how you find consistency. And that's how you start the fundamentals of building a trading plan with that exact concept.
Just so true, John. And that's why, I'm going to get more into details about our qualification program. But, just like we talked about in the other professions, they don't let you do surgery until you've gone through some real rigorous training. And with stock trading or options trading or whatever trading, they'll let anyone with a little bit of money open up an account and start clicking buttons. So we're going to talk about the qualification program. And once our traders get through the qualification program, they start at level 1. So they start out with a $25,000 trading account. This is one of the firm's sub-accounts. Now understand that this is not leverage capital. This is real capital. So you actually get leverage on top of that. Alright, so let's go through a little scenario. Let's say there's a trader at level 2. And at the end of the earnings period, they've created a $5,000 profit based on their trades. Well, it's very easy. This trader is at a 70% payout, so if they made $5,000, they earn $3,500 from themselves and the firm makes $1,500. Now we wanted to put this together to where our interests and the trader's interests were aligned. At Maverick, we do not mark up ticket charges. Some other firms, they actually will add in a charge, an extra charge into commissions, to where even if you break even, they make money. If you lose, they make money. We wanted to make it to where if you made money, we made money. So let's talk about that $3,500. So during that period of time, the trader made $3,500. Now that's their profit. They can do what they want. We have a lot of our traders that say, you know what, just send me my profit distribution at the end of each pay period. We send them $3,500 via ACH transfer. It shows up in their bank account within 1 to 2 days. Some traders say, you know what, I don't need the capital. Let's go ahead and leave it in the account so I can have some extra buying power. That's really up to you as the trader to determine. Now this is an independent contractor position, an independent trader. So at the end of the year, you're going to be issued a 1099. For those of you that are not familiar with 1099 income, it's basically self-employment income. So again, we follow all the rules that the IRS sets out for 1099 income, which means that each independent trader is responsible for paying their own taxes, paying their own expenses, and doing their own reporting. But don't worry, we have lots of sessions and classes and services to help you out with your taxes. But understand that this is an independent contractor position. Alright, well let's talk about the qualification program. Now the qualification program consists of 3 parts. The knowledge, the system, and the proof. That's really what it's all about. There's 3 steps to the process. We have proficiency tests. So basically before anyone is allowed to trade, you must pass the proficiency test. You must prove that you are knowledgeable, that you understand about risk management, position sizing, you're an expert in technical analysis. We want to make sure that our traders have the knowledge to be profitable in the market. Second, you must build and submit a personalized trading plan. Every single person is different. You can't trade like me, I can't trade like you, you can't trade like John. We're all different. We have different risk tolerances, we have different strategies we enjoy. All of our traders will build their own systems, their own strategies. We want to make sure that those strategies work. So the last part is to prove the system. Prove the system on simulators, on back testing, and on demo trading the live market.
Hey Rob, just one thing here really quickly. As Rob was kind of talking about the trading plan and how everybody's different, one of the biggest components of trading, and especially doing it successfully, is the psychological piece. You know, we all have personalities. Whether we like it or not, we all have personalities. So, you know, when you're dealing with trading, you don't necessarily have to be a left brainer or a right brainer. You don't necessarily have to be conservative or aggressive. You're going to be you. And as an adult, there's no chance that you're going to change that. I know a lot of people think that they're going to change themselves. They make New Year's resolutions. They constantly are trying to make changes. But the reality is you are who you are at the core. And because of that, you have to develop a trading plan that fits in with you. And that's why Rob was saying that. Like psychologically, if you're an aggressive personality, you can't become a conservative trader. It will drive you nuts. It will drive you completely nuts. So we have to make sure that we build your personality in with your trading plan. And a big part of that, and we actually will walk everyone through building a trading plan, is a big part is including that psychological piece to make sure that it fits with you. If you're someone who struggles with discipline sometimes, well, then we're going to build a plan where we can box that out and we can make sure that that's taken care of so you don't cross over lines, so you don't get yourself into trouble. So that's a big part of that. And I think that, as Rob was saying earlier, ever since we made this part of the requirement. We always recommended that people had a good trading plan, because you wouldn't, go open a coffee shop without a business plan. But when we actually started requesting and requiring people to submit this trading plan, that's when we started to see a huge amount of change in the terms of people's consistency and people's success. So it's a huge deal, and that's why it's integral into our entire system.
Let's first talk about the knowledge part of it. Every single one of our traders that we bring in at first is from a different level. Some are former floor traders, some are retail traders, and some are fairly new to this. We're looking for that teachable, trainable person that we can bring in and say, hey, this is how you do it. So based on what you need, we've built our trading system behind you. So we have a comprehensive training program. It goes through charts, options theories, option strategies, trade adjustments. We have seriously probably over 1,000 hours of videos that go from all aspects of trading, from sector rotation all the way up to implied volatility with options. So everything is there based on what you need. If you're very experienced, then you may need only a little bit. If you're fairly new to this, it's all there for you. But all of our traders must pass our online proficiency tests. This is where you go through and say, hey, you know what? I do know what I'm talking about. I do understand the principles of charting. I do understand how to read volume on a chart. Now look, a lot of people worried, what if I take these tests and I fail them? Look, you're allowed unlimited retries. So it's not really about passing the test. It's just to prove that you do know what you're talking about. As we talked about earlier, we wanted this to be a collegial environment. So there's lots of sharing. Other traders are going to share their trades. They're going to share their setups. They're going to share their strategies with you. Understand that doing this together as a group is going to be much easier. So I'm not going to get into this much because your recruiter is actually going to go through this with you in detail. But basically, this is the Learning Center at MaverickTrading.com. And as you can see over to the left, we have everything set up as modules. And it's pretty neat because you basically will track your progress. So you'll go through one of the first modules, you'll take the test, and it will say, okay, you are now 27% done with it. So again, the requirement is that you must pass all of our tests. Now, if you're new to trading, you might need a little bit more training and education before you can pass the test. If you've been trading for a long time, the tests are going to be pretty easy for you. But it's just there to make sure that we know that you're proficient and that you know that you're proficient before you start trading. Next step is building a trading plan. I think John just summed this up so nicely, that it must fit you and your personality. And over the years, we have received some amazing trading plans. Now, just so you know, most of the trading plans that are turned in are typically between 15 to 30 pages. That's how detailed our traders get. We give you a lot of resources. We give you a lot of examples. We share with you sample trading plans from other traders to give you a good idea of, okay, how do you want to build your plan and what are some of the things you want in it. And then the last part of the qualification program is the proof. Now, this is really the important thing. As I said before, in all other professions, you have to go through simulators. You have to go through practice. I mean, if you want to fly a plane, you've got to spend 1,000 hours in the simulator. You've got to go out with an instructor. It's the same thing in trading. So you've got to prove the system. So you've built your trading plan. You've passed your proficiency tests. We have proprietary simulators where you can go in and you can test your setups, test your plans. You can do all the back testing you want, calculate your theoretical risk, calculate your Sharpe ratios, stuff like that. And then we want you to demonstrate how it works in the live market. So our requirement is that you submit at least 2 months of either live or demo trading statements for review. So those are the 3 parts. Number 1, pass the proficiency tests. We have all the training necessary for you to pass those tests, so don't worry about that. Number 2, build your trading plan. And number 3, prove that you can trade your plan. Prove that you can implement it and prove that it's profitable. Once you do that, you are approved for live trading and approved for level 1. As we talked about, the 3 steps of the qualification program, and then management approval. Upon management approval, our traders will start with a $25,000 sub-account at Interactive Brokers. Now this is where the firm has all of their accounts. We have traders say, well, I want to trade at E-Trade. Too bad. Professional traders trade at IB. They're the best. They win all the awards every year for execution. They win all the awards for the lowest costs. All right. We have found over the years that traders trade best when they have skin in the game. So we have all of our traders at level 1 put up a $5,000 risk deposit, and the firm will put in $20,000 behind it. One of the things the IRS says to be an independent contractor is that the contractor must have the ability to lose money. So you put up a little bit of your money, we put up the majority of our money, and that makes it a true independent contractor relationship per IRS rules. Now the payouts and accounting are done after each monthly options expiration cycle. Now for those of you that don't know, that is the 3rd Friday of the month. So we close the books on that Friday, and over the weekend we calculate everyone's P&L, and we handle distributions on Monday. So that's where, again, you say, hey, send me my profits. You made $1,700. We send you that through ACH transfer. It's in your bank account on Wednesday.
Hey, Rob, one thing that I think is important to bring up here, the traders bring in their initial risk deposit, but as the traders grow and we move up levels and start to put in more capital, again, this is just nothing more than a cushion to protect against losses. And that's entirely the way it's set up. So as you get your account grows bigger and bigger, Maverick will keep putting more and more money into your sub-account.
And we've been doing this for years. And as a trader, we want to cut the losers and hold the winners. And in the end, we have no idea how you are actually going to trade. So this is just a way for us to insulate a little bit at the beginning, and then once you become proven, we'll take the risk. We'll take the risk on you. But at first, you got to prove it to us. All right, as John mentioned, as you grow and as you prove profitability, you're actually going to move up in levels. So level advancement at Maverick Trading happens after 2 consecutive profitable months above their high water mark. Now for those of you that don't understand what a high water mark is, it basically, if you, let's say you started with $25,000 and you close the next month at $30,000, that's your high water mark. But let's say that month you lost $2,000 and your account was now down to $28,000. So basically during that second month, you had a loss of $2,000. But let's say the next month, you made it all the way back up to $31,000. Well, technically speaking, you made $3,000 during that period. However, $2,000 of that was simply recovery of lost capital. We don't take any profit splits on that amount. We don't think that's right. We don't think it's fair. Anything above your high water mark is where we take our profit splits. So as you can see here, as you move through the levels, you can get up to a maximum of 80%. So let's just go through a scenario where a level 5 trader trading with plenty of capital, let's say they profit $20,000 during that period. They're at an 80% split. They'll keep $16,000 and the firm earns $4,000. And remember, this is an independent contractor position. Independent contractors, you've contracted with the firm. You're going to pay your own expenses. You're responsible for your own taxes. That is what it means to be an independent contractor. Hopefully everyone can see that this is put together to where as you grow, we grow. As you succeed, we succeed. This is truly where the trader and the firm have their interests in the same place.
All right, well, let's go ahead and start to wrap things up here. I just want to kind of go over the next steps in terms of this recruitment process. The first thing you need to do is submit your best contact information so that our recruiters know how to get in touch with you. So the best phone number, the best email address, and then they will contact you and schedule an interview with you. During that interview, you'll be able to get all of your questions answered. Anything that you're not clear on, your recruiter will be able to clarify all of that for you. Definitely you'll want to discuss placement with the firm. You'll also talk about membership fees and trader fees that come with it. Your recruiter can really discuss the different ways to take care of those types of fees. So make sure you talk to them about that. And then you're going to be able to get access to our members area. What this allows you to do is go in and basically test drive the exact same things that all of our traders have access to. This gives you a way to sort of kick the tires and see what it is that we do, and you can get a much better idea, a much more knowledgeable idea of what you want to do, and see if this is something that would be a good fit for you. So make sure you take advantage of that opportunity as well. So you can go in and you can take a look at some of those tests that Rob was talking about. You can take a look at some of the elements that we've kind of covered here.
And John, one of the things that I highly recommend to people is to actually go into one of our meetings. Again, we meet several times a week. We're talking about trades, we're talking about the markets, we're talking about new setups. This is the power of Maverick Trading. So if you can't get into a live session, watch one of the recorded sessions, just so you understand that by working together and having a team around you, this whole business is so much easier.
Absolutely. In fact, if you look back at how this entire firm was founded, it was based on the cornerstone of it, which is the trading room, where we get together and we share ideas and we talk about what happened in the market last week and what's going to happen in the market this week, or at least as far as what we think is going to happen. So it is this is really where you get to interact with other traders and get to share ideas, and it's a huge part of what we do here at the firm. So absolutely take advantage of that. Go check it out. I think you'll be very happy with that. And then the last thing to do is just become part of the firm. You could come join our trading community, and again, your recruiter will help you with all of those steps going forward. In kind of wrapping things up, I will say this. We love trading. We are very passionate about trading. I can't even tell you how much we enjoy it. We started this firm specifically because of our passion for the markets. So we always ask, are you going to be our next great trader? We hope so. We really do hope so. You know, we realize that trading is not for everybody. Maverick is not necessarily for everybody. And this is something that we want you to decide if this is going to be a good fit for you. Is this going to be a good place to hang your hat as you go through this? So go ahead and we'll wrap this up. Go ahead and take the next steps. Get in contact with your recruiter. Get all of your questions answered. Anything that's sitting there that you don't understand or you're still not clear on, please make sure you get all of that information from your recruiter. And thank you for everything. Thank you for coming along and having an interest in our firm, and we look forward to speaking with you. So that's it for me. Cheers to everybody. Rob, anything else?
Happy trading, everyone. It's a pleasure.
All right. Take care. See you guys.